The ASRock Radeon RX 5500 XT Phantom Gaming OC 8GB has a pretty long name, as many modern graphic cards have. However, it is also one of the cheapest Radeon RX 5500 XT graphics cards on the market right now, being available at around 200 and something US dollars or euros. As always, prices will vary, especially in the current situation that we're all in, so keep that in mind when looking for the best price possible. Starting with the basics, the RX 5500 XT Phantom Gaming is small, as in very small, having a total length of just 23 cm and a height of just 10 cm, with a width of around 4.5 cm. So this particular model is ideal for a small form factor gaming system that will benefit from a smaller graphics card. In terms of looks, the design of the graphics card is fairly straightforward, as it is after all part of the ASRock Phantom Gaming series of products, and thus it uses a black, grey and red color combination. The fan shroud is made out of plastic and covers the entire length of the heatsink, with the regions around the fans being on different levels to enhance the look of the card and also create the appearance of metal plates being screwed onto the graphics card. Speaking of the fans, there are only two used on this model and both are 90mm in size. The manufacturer of these fans is Foxconn and the model number is PVA080E12R. As always, these fans have been used with other graphics cards on both the AMD and Nvidia sides. What you need to keep in mind is that this model number is used for a wider variety of fans, so if you are looking for a replacement, you need to take into account not only the model number, but the shape of the impellers as well. There is nothing special about these fans, as there are no distinctive features either on the impellers or on the hub. The only feature that is present is the possibility of having the fans stopped when light workloads are applied on the graphics card. This is neither a new or improved feature, but it is great to have, especially at this price point, because it makes the entire system much more quieter at idle. The cooling system is pretty simple. We have a heatsink made out of metal, most likely aluminum, and just 3 copper-made heat pipes. The heat pipes make contact with the base of the heatsink, which is also made from copper. The VRM components are cooled by the aluminum heatsink, with the thermal transfer achieved through thermal pads. The memory chips make contact with a secondary plate attached to the heatsink. Just like the VRM, however, these are making contact with the plate through thermal pads. The memory chips are made by Samsung and are the model K4ZAF325BM-HC14 and are GDDR6. The power delivery used on the 5500 XT Phantom Gaming OC 8GB uses a 6-phase configuration. The main controller is the NCP81022, manufactured by ON Semiconductor. The VRM of the memory is configured as a single-phase unit and uses as its main controller a second ON Semiconductor NCP81022. The backplate is following the same design elements as the front fan shroud of the graphics card. The design is linear with the same black, grey and red color combination. Here you can also get to see that the heatsink and fan shroud are longer than the backplate and the PCB of the graphics card. If you are wondering if there's some RGB here, yes, it has some. Right on the right side of the fan shroud, there are the Phantom Gaming name and logo, illuminated in full RGB greatness. And that's it for the entire graphics cards, there is no RGB anywhere. The power is delivered through a standard 8-pin connector placed on the corner of the PCB. The notch is placed on the top, so keep that in mind when you route your cables. In terms of connectivity, there isn't much to talk about. You get 3 standard display ports, which are version 1.4a, and then you get a single HDMI port, which is version 2.0b. There are also some cutouts that will help out with the warm air being pushed out of the heatsink by the 2 fans, but that's pretty much it for this side of the graphics card. Before we get into the testing of the graphics card, we have to see, or rather hear, how loud this graphics card is. And while I will provide you with some measurements, I will show you the actual noise the 2 fans make. This way, not only you will get to see the RPM of the fans, but also hear the noise signature being generated, as many times a simple decibel reading is not enough to detect bearing noises or other unwanted noises. The sound measured with both fans spinning at their maximum RPM was 41 decibels, measured at a distance of 10 cm away from the system and graphics card. Usually a dual fan cooling system will be louder than a triple fan system, as the less fans you have, the faster they have to spin to maintain the same cooling performance and airflow. The performance of this graphics card is tested as always with some games, and we start with GTA 5 running at 1080p with all settings turned to very high and vertical synchronization disabled. And in this game the RX 5500 XT reached an average frame rate of 84 frames per second, with the low 1% at 68 frames per second and the 0.1% at 45 frames per second, and overall quite a good experience in this game. Now we have The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt also running at 1080p and with all the settings turned to ultra, with heroics disabled for fairness and vertical synchronization also disabled. And in The Witcher 3 the RX 5500 XT reached an average frame rate of 71 frames per second, with the low 1% at 44 frames per second and the 0.1% at 32 frames per second. The third game in our review is Metro Exodus, running at 1080p with the Ultra preset enabled and also running in DirectX 12 mode. In this game the graphics card reached an average frame rate of 59 frames per second, with the low 1% at 47 frames per second and the 0.1% at just 29 frames per second. The final game in our review is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, also running at 1080p with all the settings turned to their maximum values. The game is running in DirectX 12 mode with pure hair disabled and vertical synchronization disabled. And in this game the RX 5500 XT Phantom Gaming reached an average frame rate of 74 frames per second, with the low 1% at 63 frames per second and the 0.1% at 58 frames per second. In terms of temperature, with an ambient temperature of 26 degrees Celsius, the RX 5500 XT Phantom Gaming OC 8GB reached an average temperature of 63 degrees Celsius, with the fans running in their factory settings. And what about the power usage? Well, in that case, this ASRock RX 5500 XT has a peak power usage of 137 watts in a benchmark such as the one offered by the game Metro Exodus. The ASRock Radeon RX 5500 XT Phantom Gaming OC Edition 8GB still has a long name, but I guess we will get used to it. Anyway, the main point of this graphics card is affordable performance in gaming, and it does that with ease. The RX 580 is definitely slower than this RX 5500 XT, while the RX 590 is only marginally better, while also using almost double the power when gaming. The dual fan cooling system, while a bit on the smaller size, it does its job really well and keeps the graphics card temperature in check, while also not being that loud. Keep in mind that the fans never reached maximum RPM while I was testing this graphics card, so it is fairly silent in regular gaming usage. The ASRock RX 5500 XT Phantom Gaming OC 8GB is a really good graphics card for a budget gaming system, and it will do its job at 1080p with ease. The small PCB and cooling system also make this graphics card compatible with most small form factor cases and motherboards. If you like this review, then perhaps you can consider subscribing for more, and also if you want to support the channel directly, then in the description below you can find the Patreon and subscriber star pages.